Studs Terkel, Pulitzer Prize winning author. Art Patak won the Pulitzer Prize. He was a crime reporter. The great boxer, Barney Ross, three-time champion, one of the greatest Jewish boxers that ever lived, and he was a war hero. How many of you remember the deli in a little basement on Division and Spalding? Itzkovitz. One of the guys who owned it was Sherman Block. He moved to Los Angeles and he joined the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. He became the sheriff, one of the most powerful politicians in the state of California. All these people lived within blocks of where I lived, Jews. Benny Goodman, the great band leader. Ben Hecht, great director. Michael Todd, married to Elizabeth Taylor, producer. How many of you remember Jackie Leonard, the comedian? My parents knew him as Fat Slavinsky. Carl Foreman, famous producer. The list goes on and on. All poor Jews who became famous. Jules Stein established the Jules Stein Eye Clinic at UCLA, world famous. And Mickey Rotner, the great basketball player, he's in the Jewish Hall of Fame. So when I discovered that all these famous people lived where I lived, I decided I want to write a book and I want to pay tribute to them. In addition to that, I grew up with great men that also came from humble beginnings, some of them from extreme poverty. Let me give you a thumbnail of some of them. One of my best buddies, by the way, we've been friends, most of these guys, we've been friends for 60 years. And I see them all the time. You can't replace friends like that. One of them grew up without a father. He lived with his mother, Sally, in a one-bedroom apartment. And she made minimum wage. She worked in a factory. They were so poor that they had to take in boarders, and the boarders slept in the living room. He's now a multimillionaire, an entrepreneur. He owns Mustard's Last Stand, the hot dog stand by Northwestern University. Here's a guy right here, Mel Kaplan, right here. Raise your hand, Mel. He came from no money. He had no money at all. One of the most successful realtors in Chicago. I have another friend. He grew up without a father, Jerry Zaidman. His mother made minimum wage. She was a seamstress. He became a famous certified public accountant. He's had among his clients the mayor of New York, the governor of New York, and the mayor of Chicago. Here's another one. Al Ackerman, probably one of the 5 best criminal lawyers in the city of Chicago. He was one of the lawyers on Blagojevich. He has argued before the United States Supreme Court. Some of his briefs have made new law. He's a member of super lawyers. They are selected by their peers. Only 2% of the lawyers in the country belong to this esteemed group. The list goes on and on, the guys I grew up with. I have one friend, he lived above a candy store. No money at all. Has anybody here ever seen a documentary called Hoop Dreams? It was outstanding. He produced it. Poor kid, poor Jew. Another one, Al Becker. He was an orphan at the age of 16. He's one of the most prominent lawyers in Chicago. The list goes on and on. All my friends, they came from humble beginnings. They became enormous successes. So I decided that I want to write a book and pay tribute to those who came before me and those that I grew up with, my brothers by choice. And there was still another reason that I decided to write the book. I wanted to help young children who lack self-esteem because I was thrown out of high school. Now that was, in the Yiddish word for that is called a shanda. I hated school. And when the teachers would talk, I would see their lips move, and I didn't know what they were saying. All I was thinking about was girls, cars, and baseball. So I played hooky all the time. Every Monday, every Friday for me was a holiday. So it caught up to me, and I got thrown out. One day, the principal called me in the office. He said, "You're out of here." Bam. So I was humiliated. I was going to Roosevelt High School on a permit. I lived in Humboldt Park, so I had to go to Thule. And like my friend Cy Cooperman told me, he said, "Boy, I lost, there were only 3 Jews there, and I just lost one of them." So what happened is I went to Thule for about a half a year, and I was so depressed. I called the principal at Roosevelt. I said, "Can you please take me back? I'll do better." He said, "Well, if you could get a B average, if you could stop playing hooky, no tardies," he said, "I'll take you back." So I did it, and he took me back. My grades were so bad that I graduated, check this out, there were 188 people in my class, I was 187. I was headed for the toilet. And it took me 4.5 years to get my high school diploma because I refused to go to summer school. I would drive my father's 48 Oldsmobile to Lane Tech. I was supposed to go to summer school. And as soon as I'd get in front of Lane Tech, I'd see my buddy Ginsberg. I'd say, "Come here." He'd get in the car, we'd go away. So that was my story. I was headed for nowhere. I had a buddy, my best friend, Donnie Solomon, who you know. And he said to me, "Listen, we're never going to go to college." He said, "Why don't we join the Army? We will be the first 2 Jewish generals."